Lesson 4, topic, intercepts. Learning target. I can identify the intercepts of a linear function and use them to graph the function. First thing is vocab. So an x-intercept is the point where the line touches the x-axis. So right here, our graph touches the x-axis at 2. So our x-intercept would be 2. Y-intercept is the point where the line touches the y-axis. So right here, it touches the y-axis at 3. So our y-intercept is 3. Now we can also write coordinate points for these. So if the x-intercept is at 2, that coordinate point right there on the graph is 2, 0. Because we go right 2, but we don't go up or down. The y-intercept is at 3 on the y-axis, so that coordinate point is 0, 3. Because we didn't go left or right, we just went up 3. So if you notice, the x-intercept is when y equals 0, and the y-intercept is when x equals 0. Quick check, what would be the coordinates of the x-intercept? So a coordinate is when you have two numbers in x comma y. So what would be the coordinates of the x-intercept? So where we cross that x-axis, what would be those coordinates? So we are going to be using x and y intercepts to graph. So we're going to get an equation. Now if you notice, this equation is not in function form. So that first step to use a table is that it's in function form. If it's not in function form, the intercepts are possibly a good method. So the first thing we want to do is figure out, well, what are the intercepts? So if you remember, the x-intercept is when y equals 0. So we are going to take our equation, 3x plus 6. But once we get to y, we're going to make it 0. And then we're going to solve. Well, anything times 0 is 0. So that piece just goes away. And we're left with negative 3x equals 12. Negative 3x is negative 3 times x. To undo that times, we're going to divide by negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 leaves us with x equals 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. So our x-intercept is negative 4. Now we're going to do the same thing to find our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is when x is 0. So again, we're going to take our equation, and when we see x, we're going to replace it with 0. So negative 3 instead of x, I'm going to put 0 plus 6y equals 12. Anything times 0 is 0, so that goes away, and we're left with positive 6y equals 12. 6 times y, we undo that with divide by 6 on both sides. We get y equals, what is 12 divided by 6? That is 2. So our y-intercept is 2. Now that we know our intercepts, we can graph it. All we have to do is graph negative 4, 0, right here. And that was your x-intercept, so it goes on your x-axis. And then 0, 2 is right there, and that was your y-intercept, and it goes on your y-axis. Connect the points to make a straight line, and you've graphed your linear function. All right, let's do one more example. Again, we're going to find the x and y intercepts of this function right here. So the first thing we're going to do is find the x-intercept. So that means we make y 0. So y is going to become 0. So we have 4x minus 8. Instead of y, I'm going to put 0 equals 24. Remember, anything times 0 is 0, so that's going to go away, and we're left with 4x equals 24. Undo that times by 4 with divide by 4 on both sides. We get x equals, what is 24 divided by 4? Well, that's 6. So our x-intercept is 6. So now we need to find the y-intercept. So we're going to go back up to our equation, our function. And this time we're going to set x equal to 0. So when we see x, we're going to put 0. So 4 instead of x, replace it with 0, minus 8y equals 24. Anything times 0 goes away. So we're left with, now please, 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 please make sure you take that minus sign with the 8 because that's making it negative 8y equals 24. Don't forget the signs. So now we're going to undo that times by negative 8 with divide by negative 8 on both sides. And we get y equals, what is 24 divided by negative 8? Would be negative 3. So now we know our y-intercept is negative 3. All right, so the last step is just to graph it. So the x-intercept is 6, 0. So remember that's going to go on our x-axis. So we find 6 or 6, 0 right there. And then our y-intercept is 0, negative 3. So we go to our y-axis and we find negative 3. And we connect the points. And there's our graph. That's all the notes I have for you. Go ahead and move into your lesson 3 practice.